Shalom and welcome to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, the Reverend Rabbi Eric Walker. The headlines are filled with all kinds of news from all around the world, and what's going on in America today is nothing short of stunning and head-shaking. From the outburst of AOC to the anti-Semitic rants to the lean towards socialism, towards the censoring of ministries like ourselves that were just recently censored by Facebook for posting a prophetic post of an event and a decision made in America and advertising that as part of a prophecy class. We were censored by Facebook. Our next guest is an expert on the area of Facebook and social media and what's going on in the United States and the world at large. He is a 10-year veteran of the United States Marine Corps who wrote for theexaminer.com for 6 years. His articles have also appeared at Newsbusters, Spokane Faith and Values, other sites. He currently is the editor-in-chief of the Conservative Firing Line.com, where he discusses issues that are important to biblical conservatives. He's the co-author of the book Banned, How Facebook Enables Militant Islamic Jihad. And our next guest, Joe Newby, is the host of the Joe Newby Hour, heard here on the first Monday of every month at the 12 o'clock hour. It's my privilege to introduce you and rejoin our very good friend, Joe Newby, who, from what the chatter in the background sounds like, is you must be there on the floor of the Democratic-controlled Congress, because all I hear is a bunch of yak, 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 and chatter and chirping and noise-making of no value whatsoever. Joe Newby, welcome to this edition of Revealing the Truth.
Good morning, Eric. It's great to see you. And yes, we have here Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and she is explaining to us her Green New Deal. Well, I'm impressed. I got to tell you.
Well, having her right there in studio with you live in your home there is really quite incredible.
Yes, it is.
The chatter, just the incessant chatter of, and I saw the close-up interview of her when she was talking about moral turpitude and how the end of the world is in the hands of, now let me get this right, because there's 350 million Americans and there are 7 billion people in the world.
Right.
So we're saying that 0.005% of the population of the world is going to bring the earth to destruction in 10 to 12 years is going to be the end of the earth as we know it.
As we know it, yes. And in order to fix it, Eric, we need to spend more money than exists on planet Earth. And we need to go about and find ways to get rid of all the greenhouse gases on the planet. This is what she's telling us. There's only one problem, as a co-founder of Greenpeace informed us here not that long ago, is that if we actually were to succeed in getting rid of all the greenhouse gases that AOC and her ilk want to do, guess what? They would actually end up eradicating all life on planet Earth. How brilliant is that, Eric?
Well, the statistics were that in order to meet the requirement, we would have to reduce the population of the earth to 500,000. That is the only sustainable amount of people that can inhabit the earth in order to maintain where we are today, and so that the earth does not end. Meaning you have to commit a genocide of 6.5 billion people
Right.
in order to sustain the life of 500,000 at the current levels. Not only that, you have to kill the cow,
Yes.
and the cow is the largest emitter of methane gas, and therefore they are actually now working on ways to harness and then turn into a sustainable uh, energy source to capture this methane gas, which is released by cows,
Hmm.
and turn it into a combustible resource. So there is a great benefit in what we're doing because it is an alternative energy source like propane
Right.
or natural gas. So it does, it has spurned a lot of dialogue. I think the president's response was that, honey, we can't watch television tonight because the wind's not blowing and our windmill isn't generating enough electricity to sustain being able to watch Fox News.
Right.
So,
Well, if AOC and her types get their way with getting rid of 100% of all greenhouse gases, it's all academic, Eric, because all life on Earth will cease to exist.
well, we certainly have what was it, Laurel and Hardy? You know, look at this fine mess you've gotten us into. You
Right.
know, what a fine mess we've gotten ourselves into. So, let, kind of give me the from a conservativefiringline.com perspective, the really essential stories. We've got the vindication by the Mueller investigation, which uh, has now turned everybody against now against what? They've lost their evil villain. What?
Well, what's happened now, Eric, is that the Democrat Party has become exposed for what it really is. And that is quite literally nothing but a bunch of Trump hating conspiracy theorists. Look at Adam Schiff. Look at Eric Newcomb Swalwell. All of these people are quite literally, Eric, nothing but a bunch of conspiracy theorists. They've been lying to us for 2 years, more than that. Now their lies have been exposed. Their attempted coup d'etat against a legally elected president has been exposed and stopped, and yet they still want to keep this thing going. Eric, I'm telling you, it's if a Republican were to have done this, or if Republicans had done this against Barack Hussein Obama, these same people would be apoplectic. The media would be apoplectic. Uh, but instead, what we're getting now is we're getting Democrats like Eric Swalwell, Democrats like um, Adam Schiff. All of these people want to continue with going down this very same road, even though it's been proven over and over again that there was no collusion and Donald Trump did not obstruct justice. And now you have this anti Semite in Congress, Ilhan Omar, who comes out and tells a Fox News reporter that Donald Trump isn't even a human being. What in the world are we doing here, Eric?
You know, when we take a look at this ridiculous um, grab for attention, we've got two radically inspired individuals that are now commanding more airtime than anybody else.
Right.
Uh, we have Ilhan Omar, who is an anti-Semitic Muslim
Hmm.
that has brought anti-Semitism to the forefront. The congressional
Yep.
response to it was banning hate speak. Well, hate
Right.
speak has been banned for a long time. Uh, you know, you can't yell fire in a movie theater. That's not freedom of speech. That's not
No.
First Amendment protected. But yet, she has come out with an anti-Semitic comment, and what there's just it's now all hate speak is outlawed, but anti-Semitism is okay.
Well, actually, Eric, you're right about the anti-Semitism. It is apparently okay now. Not for I think a vast majority of us, it's not. Um, but hate speech, really, Eric, you can call it. People can call it what they want. There is no law that says you can't say something hateful. All right. That is something that has been concocted by leftists over at Facebook, over at Twitter. Now, it's something that most of us, I think, do not wish to engage in. I'll put it
Right.
that way. However, there are times when you have to make statements that might offend somebody. And, these days, calling a male human being a female could be cause for offense anymore. Somebody simply wearing a Make America Great Again hat can cause offense. You've got Facebook out there calling everything under the sun hate speech. Everything is hate speech, hate speech, hate speech. And then you turn around and you have this, you're right, this Muslim congresswoman who immigrated here from Somalia, from a crap hole of a country like Somalia. She comes to this country, all right? This country takes her in, welcomes her in, and what is she doing to it right now? Okay? She's spitting on it, in my opinion. She is spitting on the very country that welcomed her in as a migrant years ago. And now she's in Congress saying that our president is not a human being, telling her fellow Muslims at a Khair gathering to get in our faces if we just happen to look at them a little bit different, to confront people like you and I,
Right.
to get in our faces, to make us uncomfortable. We now know that in her past, she has actually asked a federal judge or a judge to have leniency, compassion, if you will, on men who wanted to join ISIS. She has blamed the United States for a terror attack, an Islamic terror attack on a Kenyan mall. This is what has been elected into the halls of Congress, Eric. A terrorist sympathizing immigrant who hates this country. Oh, yes, she smiles at our faces, but you listen to her words. My gosh, Eric, this is in the halls of Congress. And we're now supposed to be told that we have to embrace that? No, I will not embrace that. If you come to my country and you want to be a citizen in my country, a country that I have served and you have served, then by golly, you had better accept the fact that this is the United States. This is not Somalia. This is not the Sudan. This is not whatever country you come from. And if you cannot accept and integrate into this country, Eric, then in my opinion, you have no business being here.
Do you think that her position on Israel, her position on biblical values, on Judeo Christian values, on what this country was founded on, do you think that in light of the 2020 election cycle, that this is going to be advantageous to promoting a more conservative agenda and getting those that are really truly becoming offended by this and actually stemming a narrative? I'm reading a commentary by Adina from Conservative Firing Line, which is entitled, Will Jewish American Leftists Wake Up in Time, or Will They Rue the Day They Didn't Jump? The Dempster Ship. And she actually brings up a couple of very major points of what a vote for the Democratic Party today would mean to American-Israel relations,
Yes.
which have biblical import. Uh, and this is the party that at the UN Barack Obama called for Israel to return to the 1967 borders, where Donald Trump has allowed for the recognition of the sovereignty of the Golan Heights,
Mm-hmm.
which absolutely should take place. Uh, the same party, she said, the same man orchestrated UN Resolution 2334, proclaiming most of Israel illegitimate, where Donald Trump has put the American embassy in Israel,
Right.
recognizing its sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
The same Democratic Party supported this $150 billion to the mullahs of Iran, um, and there is no outcry. And this is the same money being used to fund. Not only do we know it's funding Hezbollah, but
Mm-hmm.
now it's been brought out that it's funding Hamas, and all the
Right.
incitement to riot that's going on in Hamas is being backed by the Shiite agenda of the regime in Iran that were recipients of this $150 billion. And even though we're now implementing sanctions and Donald Trump has pulled us out of this, is this the party that's going to stand against everything that the Bible tells us in Genesis 12:3 that every nation that stands with Israel is going to be blessed, and every nation that stands against Israel is going to be cursed? When we take a look and compare the anti-Israel years versus the pro-Israel years, you
Mm-hmm.
can see that we're prospering versus our very negative unemployment, negative economy that was under the 8-year administration of Barack Hussein Obama, which was an anti-Israel. Now you have more anti-Israel sentiment entering into the House via a Democrat, a duly elected Democrat,
Mm-hmm.
that's just going to head us down a path of destruction according to the Bible. Uh, the conservative mind, more often than not, is also a biblically lined up
That's
mind.
right. That's right. I tend to agree with that, Eric. And Adina is correct. We're facing, I think, a tipping point. Quite honestly, after the 2018 election, I think it was Keith Ellison who said that we can expect more, Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, and that concerns me. Not because of you know not because of their religious background. They have a right to worship whatever they want. That's guaranteed in our Constitution. What concerns me, Eric, is that there are going to be individuals who get elected to Congress who believe that their religious faith should supersede the Constitution and go against what this country has been for more than 200 years. And you're absolutely right. I think conservatives are, in fact, much more biblically in tune than their more liberal counterparts. I've been around, liberal religious types before, and it's amazing, what they think that the Bible says about certain things, about what they believe. Many of them, not all of them, but many of them believe about fundamentals of Christianity, the very fundamentals of what the Christian belief really is. And some of them are ordained pastors, and I walk away shaking my head, asking myself, where do these people go to church? You know, where are these people coming from? Um, but you're absolutely right, and I think there is going to be a reckoning. I think there's going to be a wake up take place in 2020. At least I certainly hope so. I would hate to think that we're going to have more individuals like Ilhan Omar, AOC, or Rashida Tlaib get elected to Congress. That to me is a frightening prospect. James Woods was right. Right now, AOC is probably the single most dangerous woman in the country. because she is so uninformed, because she is so ignorant. And this is exactly the type of person that the media flocks to. Her and this anti-Semite Ilhan Omar. Um, these people are dangerous precisely because this is what the media gravitates to. And unfortunately, there's an entire segment of our society, Eric, that is so low information and so uninformed that they gravitate to the message that these individuals put out.
I was attacked on Facebook for a comment that I made in an interview that said that Nancy Pelosi on Ash Wednesday, sitting there as the Speaker of the House of Representatives on global television with an ash on her forehead,
Hmm.
allegedly representing conservative Christian values,
Right.
adhering to a Catholic observance
Hmm.
of the beginning of the Lenten season,
Right.
uh, who was also vocally supportive of abortion, a woman's right to choose, vocally supportive of LGBT, that this was um, um, a corrupted testimony, if you will, for what Christian values were, and that someone wrote and said, "So your opinion is you can't be Democrat and be Christian?" And I said, "Well, I can't find anywhere in the Bible that says that the killing of children is anything different, anything less than murder, and that a man is not supposed to sleep with another man, regardless of what your politics are. The Bible says, and so if I'm going to present myself as a face, as an observant individual, you know, if Ilhan Omar wears a hijab in Congress, she's making a statement for
Hmm.
Islam.
That's
If
right.
Nancy Pelosi is wearing an ash on her forehead, she's making a statement for Christianity.
Right.
And it is, in my opinion, a corrupted witness. And I have a hard time understanding how anybody could say that they are a Bible believing Christian and
Hmm.
support a liberal, progressive agenda. And I will stand
Exactly.
behind that statement because there are unbiblical principles at work here. Not saying that you can't be a Republican or an independent or anything else. I'm just saying that I can't reconcile the liberal progressive agenda with the truth of the Bible. And therefore, I came under attack for that. But I still maintain that same position is that you cannot support uh, ordination of gays and lesbians into ministry positions preaching the gospel, because
I
that's a
agree.
different gospel than Jesus himself preached. And so I took uh, some heat for that, and I'm still maintaining my position and invite people to comment if they will as to me looking at the Hebrew text and saying that God said to Rebecca when she went before God, he said, "There's two nations in your womb,
Hmm.
and these nations are going to be at war with each other,
Right.
and this is the life of the unborn child." And God is speaking about the life of the unborn child and the future line of the Messiah. So, had God not protected the unborn child in
Hmm.
the womb, then Jesus never would have been born. And that is a fundamental principle of Scripture from Genesis all the way through Revelation, is that the
Absolutely.
seed line of the Messiah and then the seed line of the Jewish people who will call for his return must be allowed to live and to be in existence.
Hmm.
And if you were to abort, or then Jesus, under those circumstances, would have been aborted. They would have found justification for this young girl, this virgin, to terminate the pregnancy of the Messiah just because it was culturally inconvenient.
Right.
This is a part of what we become as a westernized nation, and so conflicted
Mm-hmm.
that there is no ground in which they stand on, which is a firm foundation. We're talking with Joe Newby, proprietor, senior editor of conservativefiringline.com, and co-author of the book Banned: How Facebook Enables Islamic Jihad. He brings a biblically conservative view to our narrative and discussion about the events that are going on around us in this country and how they impact biblical prophecy and how we're lining up with the westernized world and the westernized belief in socialism, which has failed and fallen on its face in every nation that's ever tried it on. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to continue in this discussion with Joe Newby during this 1 hour Joe Newby Hour right here on Revealing the Truth. We'll be right back. Not everything that makes the headlines has biblical importance, but many events that happen around the world do, and you never hear about them. Igniting a Nation is pleased to teach Revealing Prophecy every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. at the Marriott 280 in Birmingham. We will cover worldwide events and insider information that will connect the dots of what's happening around the world with biblical prophecy. If you happen to miss a class, we'll televise each week's class at 10 o'clock Central Time on ignitinganation.com and all our social media outlets. Copies of the teachings will also be available to purchase on our website at www.ignitinganation.com. The Lord meets you right where you are, and so does Igniting a Nation's new live streaming outlets. You can now watch Revealing the Truth, Revealing the Bible, and Prophecy Revealed simulcast live each Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Vimeo, Periscope, and through our website, www.ignitinganation.com. No matter what device you are using, our program will automatically scale so you won't have to miss a single program. And if you happen to miss an episode, you can always subscribe to the Igniting a Nation YouTube channel and access over 1,000 interviews and never miss your favorite authors, special guests, and topics that interest you the most.
There are lots of ways to see Israel, but nothing compares to seeing the land of the book and the people of the book through the eyes of two Jewish believers who can take you on a journey that will bring the entire Bible to life. When you join Rabbi Eric Walker and his #1 rated tour guide, Edo Canaan, in Israel, you'll experience incredible teachings, first-class accommodations, and actually walk where Jesus walked. You will experience the Bible transforming from black and white into living color, and you will never see the Bible in the same way again. For more information, visit us at www.ignitinganation.com/events.
The Lord contends with what contends with you, and Igniting a Nation is committed to bringing to light each and every issue that faces a believer's life. Our live stream programming and teachings take you on a journey to finding biblical truth from a wide variety of experts who share their insights into a deeper walk with the Lord. We have assembled the most comprehensive panel of experts in the fields of prophecy, caregiving, healing from trauma, shame, and abuse, and so much more. We continue to expand our teachings and programming to meet your needs. We're committed to healing the nations with biblical truth. Visit www.ignitinganation.com to develop a deeper walk with the Lord and start your journey to a transformed life. The Bible commands us to study to show ourselves approved, but most study using Bible study tools and not actually studying the Bible chapter and verse. Igniting a Nation is pleased to present Revealing the Bible, recorded and taught each week before a live audience. We take you deeper into the actual Bible and verse in both Hebrew and English and connect the dots between the Old and New Testament. You can attend our 2 classes in Tuscaloosa and Birmingham, or watch the program every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time on ignitinganation.com and all our other simulcast outlets. For more information, visit www.ignitinganation.com www.newbyrabbitch.com/events. Shalom and welcome back to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, the Reverend Rabbi Eric Walker, and we're talking with Joe Newby, co-author of the book Banned: How Facebook Enables Islamic Jihad, and he is the proprietor of conservativefiringline.com. You can sign up at conservativefiringline.com and become a follower and get their daily news feed about all things conservative from a biblical worldview. Joe Newby, welcome back to the program.
Well, thank you, Eric. It's great to be here again.
Joe, we've officially entered into what we would call the 2020 election cycle. There's people who are announcing themselves as candidates, at least in the Democratic Party, for president. A couple of rumblings of people that say that they would take on Donald Trump, maybe from a Republican perspective, but this is really who the Democratic nominee is going to be, and we're seeing a real leaning. We're finding the same networks that jumped on the bandwagon of the 2-year Mueller investigation are now jumping on the bandwagon of advancing the cause of socialism. They become a media outlet for all things crazy, all things groundless, and all things detrimental to the American way. But yet they still have millions upon millions of viewers, advertisers, subscribers, and followers. How concerned should we be that people like these junior Democratic congresswomen, congresspeople, and senators are getting this much airtime and this much attention this early in the cycle?
We should be extremely concerned, in my view, Eric. Listen, we spent the last half hour talking a lot about people like Ilhan Omar, the anti-Semite, who said that Trump is not even a human being. This is a type of person that the media loves. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is weighing in over here, has been
in the background. We can hear her. She's been calling. So we've had her live on speakerphone the entire interview.
The entire interview. Well, this is a person who was called a pompous little twit by Dr. Patrick Moore, a co-founder of Greenpeace, because of her Green New Deal, which is designed to get rid of cow farts, and if fully enacted, will spend more money than exists on planet Earth, Eric. And if fully implemented, which it can't be scientifically, but if it were to be fully implemented, would eradicate all life on Earth. And this is something, Eric, that people do not understand because they don't let themselves get informed. They don't take the time to look, beyond their little blinders to see what's going on in the world around them. And so, and you've got people like this Beto O'Rourke, an individual who ate dirt, for crying out loud, after Ted Cruz defeated him. He ate dirt and he loved it so much he went back to feed some of it to his family. And my point is, if somebody like that ever gets into power, Eric, heaven help us all, because we'll all end up eating dirt. So here he is, and he goes out and he makes this ridiculous statement that we need to break apart wealth and power and privilege in the United States. What in the world is that all about? I think these people just make this stuff up because they think it sounds good. If they spent 5 seconds thinking about this, you'd think that they would have enough upstairs to say, wait a minute, that sounds stupid, because it is stupid, okay? But no, he said this on Twitter, breaking apart. Here's what he said. Here's what his tweet actually said. Let me pull up here and read it. Are you ready for this, Eric?
Yes.
This is Beto O'Rourke. Robert Francis, by the way, that's his real name. People think he's Latino. He's not. There's not a Latino bone in this man's body, okay? He's Irish, for crying out loud, all right? um, Robert Francis Beto O'Rourke, the fake Latino from Texas, who, by the way, Eric, ate dirt after Ted Cruz defeated him, all right? This is what Beto says. The unprecedented concentration of wealth, power, and privilege in the United States must be broken apart. Opportunity must be fully shared with all. We must all have the opportunity to succeed. Together, that's a sentence. As one country, that's another sentence. And this is what he actually put out there on Twitter. Eric, this is idiocy. This is stupidity, okay? This is the Democrat Party. This is who they are. They don't even know what they're talking about. They have no idea what it is to be an American. I mean, this guy just basically went full communist.
Do you think that Americans are really seriously going to support uh, this anti-Trump? It's purely anti-Trump hatred. It's kind of, as we assess the situation in the Middle East. It's a statement that the Arabs don't love the land of Israel. That's not why they want it. They just hate the Jews and don't want
Right,
them to have it.
right.
Americans right now don't love America. They hate Donald Trump. And therefore, they're willing to do anything they can to bring harm to his administration and keep him from being reelected. So they will throw out anything and see what sticks. The problem is that everybody's throwing the same stuff out now. And this is going to be the platform, unless somebody comes in there and shakes them into, or they actually believe that there is enough money and enough power and that they can actually get elected. And then we're in for disaster. I mean, I
Absolutely.
will look at leaving the country. Uh,
But
you know,
where do you go? Where, it's like Ronald Reagan said, once we lose freedom here, where do we go?
I can go to Israel.
Oh, well, okay. But, here's a problem, though, Eric, and you're right. Most of these people say what they say, do what they do, not because of any perceived problems with the United States, but because they hate Donald Trump. And that's very dangerous, I think, for the country. Seriously, it's people like Beto O'Rourke, AOC, Ilhan Omar, the rest of these people, Kamala Harris, all of them. I cannot imagine that any right-thinking individual would vote for the stated policies, the stated positions that have been put out by so many of these people. Unfortunately, you're right. There are a lot of people who have been propagandized into this Trump hatred, this frame of mind that says, if Trump's for it, I have to be against it because I hate Trump. Well, okay. So does that mean that if Donald Trump were to have developed single-handedly a cure for cancer, that you would reject it because Trump created it? And it's a similar type of thing with the economy, Eric. Like what Beto said here on Twitter about the economy. Well, here's the problem. Thanks to Donald Trump, we now have more jobs available than workers to fill them. Okay? That wasn't the case a few short years ago.
Right.
A few short years ago, we had, unemployment at one time during the Obama administration. At one time, it was over 10%. People forget that. Okay. People forget that we had a president who told us that if our aging grandparents got sick, got a disease, why we could maybe give them a pill to take away their pain. We wouldn't necessarily work to cure what ails them. Now we have a president who has a totally different point of view. Now we have a president who says, Americans should be allowed to work. There should be plenty of jobs for Americans. Now we have a president who says that you should be allowed to keep more of what you earn. And these people are apoplectic. These people hate that. And that, to me, speaks volumes.
We've got a period of about, I think, maybe 12 months in order for Bob Barr to launch Bill Barr Bill Barr, yeah, William Barr,
Yeah, William Barr.
Bill Barr to launch an investigation into the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton corruption and to what was behind the corruption, the real deep state,
Mhm.
and fast track an investigation that will uh, bring to light a big disruption in the Democratic Party. If it's
Mhm.
done swiftly and quickly, not the way Jeff Sessions did nothing in this regard.
Right.
Do you think that this will be the undoing of the Democratic Party? Because if you take a look at all the players who are currently sitting in Congress today that are complicit in this deep state scandal, is that going to solidify the Republican stronghold, recapture the House, expand the lead in the Senate, and make it possible that we actually have 6 years or 5 years to implement real substantial change like the Reagan years that
Mhm.
had lasting impact and actually still had until the Obama, well, I guess the Bush administrations came in and began to unravel the good that was done. But
Yeah.
the Supreme Court certainly can be completely reshaped in this period of time. Our Defense
Mhm.
Department, our budget, and immigration law and security can certainly be impacted for generations to come.
Right.
Do you think that that kind of investigation is what is the very first thing that should happen out of a response to this Mueller report?
Absolutely. There has to be an investigation because who knows how deep this corruption goes, Eric. We have an entire political party that has staked its whole entire future upon what amounts to the destruction of the Constitution. They have attacked the Electoral College. They want to remove the Electoral College from the Constitution. Across the country, they are attacking the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms. They are also, in different ways, attacking the First Amendment. We have social media companies and what I call the Silicon Valley axis of evil, Facebook, Twitter, what have you, um, doing everything they can to silence conservative voices. We are at a turning point in this country, Eric. And if this corruption is not rooted out and made public, then it's only going to grow and fester. And who knows what will happen next? We have just witnessed the last 2 years an attempted coup d'etat of a legally elected president of the United States. And who was it? There was, I think it was Tulsi Gabbard. I could be mistaken, but I think it was Tulsi Gabbard who recently said that if Trump had been indicted, in the Mueller report, that the United States could very easily have slipped into civil war.
Right.
And she was absolutely correct. Um, there are a lot of people there are a lot of people who still want to indict Trump, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of what could happen as a result. Okay. Um, you have Democrats and their followers out in the street assaulting people because they support President Trump, because they wear a red hat, for crying out loud. That is where we are in this country, Eric. We're at a turning point. And so I think, yes, the corruption has to be rooted out. There has to be a follow up investigation to find out just how deep this goes. I have my own suspicions. I wouldn't be a bit surprised to learn that this goes all the way to Barack Hussein Obama, personally. And we need to find out. We need to find out, root it out, and then fix it so it never happens again.
Well, you're exactly right. Uh, if there were a strong Obama, which we know that there is, implication, do you think we'll see that before before the 2020 election cycle, or do you think that's something that's going to carry over into a second term?
I think it very well could carry over into a second term. Look, Obama may be radical, but I don't think he's stupid. So if there is a connection there, I think it very well uh, will go into a second Trump term before it gets rooted out. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion.
Uh, when we take a look at the elections coming up in Israel, I don't know how much you're
Hmm.
following that or how much you're looking at that. It's coming up on April the 9th. The landscape could radically change within Israel. I don't think that it will. I think Netanyahu will pull out a re-election, and that the uh, recognizing in the executive order of the Golan Heights was kind of an
Hmm.
endorsement
Yeah.
for this election uh, in the Middle East. A change in leadership in the Middle East is going to be the end of the Middle East as we know it, because the uh, nature abhors a vacuum. So while there's a
Right.
transition, there's going to be some kind of escalation, and America is going to have to make a decision. We now have a new base being built in western Iraq,
Hmm.
which is going to reestablish our physical presence in Iraq. We're
Right.
expecting a Middle Eastern war. Iran is expected to continue to escalate. Uh, can we actually handle a regime change in the Middle East, and can we actually handle? Can Donald Trump survive that? If that were to happen, if America were to have to, um, we have the War Powers Act, but he's just not going to be able to get away with anything. That's going to have to go before Congress.
Right.
Is this Congress going to support him in engaging in the Middle East?
Well, that's a good question, Eric. I think the Republican Senate will. Um, it's hard to say what the House will do, quite frankly. Um, I would not be a bit surprised to hear Democrats call for impeachment if Trump tries to do anything, on a positive note in the Middle East. So it's hard to say what's going to happen there. Um, I'm curious to know too, and I don't know, I don't know that I've gotten any decent answers on this, but I'm curious to know too. Netanyahu has, he's got some problems of his own over there, and I don't know, if that's going to impact the election or not. It'd be very interesting to see what happens there.
Well, right now it's pretty neck and neck between the Blue and White Party and
Hmm.
Likud, which is the party that Netanyahu heads up. Uh, the campaign is a tough one. He is certainly in this last week. We got 8 more days into the election. He's ramping
Right.
up. He does face a strong challenger and a possible indictment on corruption charges. Uh, he has taken on the attack approach. He's talking about, the same kind of thing that that Trump said about Mueller, that this was a witch hunt,
Hmm.
that this is a witch hunt against him. Um, and now I think Netanyahu has taken a little bit out of the Donald Trump playbook and getting active on
Yep.
Twitter and
Right.
making some comments and commentary. The question is that this would be his fifth term as prime minister, and it requires somebody that can lead the nation uh, in a war.
Right.
And I think it's inevitable that in the next 4 years there's going to be a war, either with Lebanon, with Gaza, with Syria, Turkey, with Iran. Somebody's going to pull the trigger and start something, and he's
Hmm.
the guy you want at the helm.
Yeah.
Benny Gantz is not somebody you want at the helm, or doesn't have a proven track record. But maybe it would force an alliance between the two that made something more palpable for them. And it's a coalition. So just because he gets elected, he's got to garner 61 seats. He's got to get
Right.
61 seats to see his way in order
Right.
to confirm him as prime minister. So it's not like our election cycle here, where you can announce election night who the winner is. You
Right.
can announce how many seats, and then they start vying for seats until they form a coalition government and they actually put them up for and appoint them as prime minister. So it's going to be very, very interesting as to the in the last 24 hours, the 11th hour deals that will be made in
Right.
order to keep him in power. But it's certainly the Democrats are friends of Israel, but they're not sold out. And
Right.
even though the Democratic Party has some very large Jewish donors, they are not, and they've been the party of the American Jewish population for a long time. I think there's a lot of questions because now you're starting to talk about wealth. There's a lot of wealthy Jewish business people that are
Right.
questioning whether or not this socialism, Howard Schultz being one of them, who just says, listen, I'm not supporting this socialistic agenda. I'd have to give up my Starbucks fortune in order to go along with the Democratic Party line.
Right. Right. And you're absolutely right about that. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens over there. Going to be very interesting to see how Benjamin Netanyahu comes out of it. Like I said, I was very interested to see to know with the troubles he was going through, how that would impact that election over there. I was very curious about that. Uh, but you are right, though, Eric. There's so much happening over here. I mean, I'm looking at some headlines. My gosh, you've got some crazy, outrageous things, and it seems like every day it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse over here with things like stuff that Alexandria Ocasio Cortez is going through. Um, you know, this Jussie Smollett business. Just some outrageous things happening here in the United States,
Crazy,
and
crazy, crazy times, Joe, but we're out of time. We always run out of time. We could talk for hours. It's always a joy to have you here. Look for Joe Newby at conservativefiringline.com. Get a copy of his book, Banned: How Facebook Enables Islamic Jihad. It is just as relevant today as more and more is coming about Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all
Mhm.
this censorship going on. We were just the victim of it ourselves, and putting out a prophetic statement regarding decisions being made and how they impact prophecy, and were censored because it was considered to be political in nature. So this is a very relevant topic. Joe Newby found here on the first Monday of every month at the 12 o'clock hour. Always great to be with you. We'll see you again next month. And until then, we'll see you on the conservativefiringline.com. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Eric. It's always a pleasure to see you again.
God bless you, my friend. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll bring you the next edition of revealing the truth.